And hello, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. We're back with Codebase Alpha episode 58, and this is part 2 of our code generation using T4 templates stream. So this is part 2 of a short series, probably the last part, but we never know. We don't know how far we're going to get with this one. And I've got Mårten with me again, Fuel Stable from Twitch chat. Everyone probably knows him. So let's pop over to the pair programming screen and we'll be able to speak to Mårten then. So let's go over to pair now. Hi Mårten, welcome to the stream.
Thank you. Nice being back here. I'm getting it's become a regular almost.
Yes, and it's always very interesting when you're on. So thank you very much for joining us again. I've got some interesting effects going on with my top on the stream by the look of it. So that's a bit strange, but there we go. We'll put up with that. After dissolving into kind of last time with my yellow shirt, now this one's giving some kind of strobe effect. But never mind, we'll
it looks okay on my screen.
Good. It might be because it says small on my OBS monitor here. So okay, so last time we kind of built a reasonably basic T4 template, and then kind of expanded that with this rocket launches program that we've got here. So I think, and we started to automate the building of a reader method. But you were saying that we could actually extend that even further to actually start looking at the reading the schema of the database to do some of this work. So.
And that's being able to sort of read external models. That's a pretty, I think, powerful thing to do with T4. And T4 being C#, you can do a lot of things. So what we can do now is instead of sort of using our model, define our model ourselves, like we did last time, we can actually use the database model to sort of get the tables and get the sort of columns of the tables and sort of work with them. And that's kind of the only real difference here we're going to do. So instead of sort of define the model ourselves, we sort of use a database schema that is already available. And in order to do so, I have we have prepared a little bit, and I added this schema.tt-include file. If you want to click that.
Yeah, there it is on the screen now.
Yeah, and that file now it's not colored correctly because it's tt-include, but this thing contains a kind of a C# program I wrote many years ago that allows us to sort of take a dump of the database schema. Now there is something called SSMS or something like that, so SQL server, where you can actually iterate the schema as well. And it's okay, it works. But the reason I developed this thing is because this is really quick compared to that thing. Because the way they have implemented the SSMS or whatever it's called is they read the basic objects, and then for each extra property you need, they do an extra SQL to the database. And when you need to read all tables in a quite big database and all their properties, or at least many of them, a thing that should take seconds take minutes.
Right.
And that made me, in my example, that made me not furious, but this is not good enough. I need something that is faster. So this thing is sort of a simpler version of that thing. It only supports reading the schema, but not writing or in the updates. It just tries to sort of read the schema.
Yeah.
So I think what we could do today is maybe audio report. Okay, it's audio okay. That's you're asking that.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get someone in chat to tell us how the audio is going, because we are going through the. So we're going through. We're not coming through NDI this end. So I did want to see if anyone's out there in chat, if they could tell us if you can hear Mårten okay. It'd be interesting to see, because we have had a few kind of teething issues with NDI, which is a bit unusual because it's been working fine. But I can hear Mårten. I'm getting Mårten's voice on my VU meters in OBS. So just if there's anyone out there in chat world yet, if we get an audio report, that'd be great.
So maybe how to start this is that we define a new TT file.
Okay.
And start working with this schema thing. So if you create a new TT file, and you can call it whatever you want. Launch 3 seems close at hand.
Spell it correctly. There we go. We need to copy that first line, the extension, across, don't we? So let's do that bit.
Yes. But the question is, did it add this... Okay, well, let's try it. See what happens.
So we've created a launch 3 CS on save.
Oh,
it's
and
empty.
we got the launch 3 CS, yes.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, we want to include the schema file, and we had an include last time, I think, so we can sort of copy paste that include.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
It was in launch, the launch TT on the bottom.
Oh, that's right. It was at the bottom. That's it. So there it is. Let's grab that. So that's that data row one, but we presume we want to change that.
We want to change that to schema.tt include.
Okay.
And then we create these template brackets, these less than hash, smaller than hash, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a small example in the schema include in the beginning that tells you how to sort of connect.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
To the database. So if you copy paste that example, then we need to sort of switch the connection string. So yeah.
So I'll go and grab the connection string out of the program here. So this is the connection string we actually want.
So far we're not doing anything really T4 specific. We're just using a library and inside T4 and sort of to sort of read out the database schema, and hopefully this thing, when you save it, it doesn't complain too much.
I'm certainly thinking about it. Yeah, it's processed successfully.
Very good.
It doesn't do any produce any output, obviously, because we haven't asked it to. So yeah.
No. So I'm just going to write a simple for loop here to sort of use the schema. So the thing here is now we have a copy of the database schema in memory, and that allows us to do things with it. And I will start that I probably forgot half of what this thing is capable of, because it was many years since I wrote this and actually worked with it. I still remember it as being quite good, so that's why I choose to do it here. Yeah, exactly right. So I do a for each over all schema objects. So schema objects is more than just the tables. It can be functions. It can be stored procedures.
Okay.
In this, we probably need to filter it, but in this case, we're just gonna print the name. Hello there, Shirley Dev.
Shirley Dev, how are you? Thank you for joining the stream. Could you just give us a quick audio report? Can you hear Mårten okay, Shirley Dev?
I'm not talking now, but now I'm talking again. So if you save this thing here, what happens?
Okay, let's save it and find out. It's processing. Echoey but loud enough. Is it echoey? Yes, I had an echoey problem on my last stream, I think, and I'm not sure what the echo is all about.
I think I'm gonna pull down, try a little bit more, maybe a little bit less echo in my room. A little bit.
Right.
But I cannot make great promises.
So is that any? So Mårten's just kind of tried to dampen any echoes his end, Shirley Dev. Is that any better when he talks, or is it? Or am I echoey as well?
It's probably my room here. I live in a prison, so it's quite. So the walls are hard.
So it sounds like you're using your laptop microphone. So
yes, that's correct. I'm not a professional streamer, so yeah. I'm sitting here. I hope that's okay by you. I hope it's acceptable.
It's certainly loud enough and fine from my point of view. I can hear you perfectly well. So hopefully it translates. We've used it before, so it should work okay. Okay, so we've run that T4 template now, and it's actually printed out the names of the 5 tables which are in our database. So launch, actually that might be the launch view is probably a view actually, and we've got our launch, our rocket, yeah.
So according to this schema thing, views are actually considered kind of like tables. They are, if I could remember correctly, I switched back to the file. I have this kind of schema object is table-like. I hardly remember, and so sort of. Can I try to say this? Sort of a way to sort of test if the object is basically a table, or if it's a function. And I think we might still have the view.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, so
yeah, because it's considered. I think you can test it. I don't remember. It was many years ago. But I think you can test a specific type. But when I wrote this thing, I wanted all objects that looks like a table to do CRUD operations for, because I want to be able to sort of select from a view. I cannot insert into a view, but I want to be able to select from a view.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to be able to sort of select from a table value function, and so on and so forth. So everything that kind of looks like a table returns here as it is table-like. But so using this thing here, when we want to work with the data, we want to have objects, right? We want to have a launch view object. We want to have a launch and these kind of things. So if you remember last time, what we did was that we generated these classes from our model. But now instead we should generate it using the database schema.
Let's go and just remind ourselves of what that looked like. So over in Launch TT here, we actually created this data row model. We had an array of fields, and we listed out the fields with the data type and the name of the fields in there. We did that in a couple of versions of the same table, but so we actually had to create this model and write it. So that's so to be able to read that model and generate that model automatically from the database schema would be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's wrong or right in this case. I think sometimes what you have on a screen there is the right way to do it, and sometimes you're thinking, well, I have the metadata in the database, let's use it.
Yeah.
That is kind of where I want to be. So let's now you can start generating these classes, right? So maybe we should wrap this thing all in a namespace first, just to make it a bit better. And I would suggest putting a namespace on top, because we're going to put a lot of stuff in this namespace.
So we're going to put it right up here, yeah?
Yeah, surrounding the connection string and everything.
Yeah. So do we want it outside of the inside of our tags for the T4, or outside of that?
I'll suggest that we have it outside. I can write.
Okay, fine.
Space. I don't know. Launch 3, is that the?
That's fine. Yeah.
And this is just to sort of have a namespace, so we don't get name collisions. And now what you can do here is now you can start generating the classes inside the loop here.
Right.
So how would that look, do you think?
Well, we've got the start of it here, haven't we? So we could we can say public class. We can start off like that, can't we?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And we probably should indent. I think in this case we probably should indent the class, so you get a nice indentation compared to the not like that, the other way around.
All right.
The generated code looks nice. I like that. So yeah, that's exactly right. So because for me it's important that the generated code looks nice, because even though I'm not gonna edit it, I'm gonna read it and try to understand.
Absolutely.
So okay, let's try to say that and see if we have our the beginning of our classes.
Yes, this is what I like about this process. You can just kind of start iteratively and just work through slowly through pieces, can't you? So there we go. Yeah, there's class.
That's a nice iterative process, and the way T4 work, if you don't do it, you kind of end up in situations where you have to undo everything and sort of start from scratch, because the tooling is not so good.
Yeah.
But if you continuously just keep it running, like Agile, keep it running, then it's nice to work with. And now what you can do is now we can start iterating over all the columns in the schema object. So there is, I can write it because we never use this thing. So, and now is the question, where should we indent it? but I'm just going to do it like this and not think so much about it. So instead of iterating over the schema object, on the schema object, we have something which is called the columns of it.
Right.
And then we have a column, and now we can start generating our properties. So, they should probably be public. You can, if you can type now, if you want.
So then here we want name.
You want that in the loop.
In the loop. Let's just finish that off.
And so what is the type? Well, there is a helper function on the column called CS type name. Capital C.
Is it CS.type now, is it?
Yeah, CS type name. No. Sorry, CS C small s type. I type it for you.
Can't see that.
Sorry?
I can't see CS type name.
Okay, it should be there. I'm not sure why it's not.
Okay.
And then we have column. This is much simpler, right?
Yeah.
And then we do a getter, setter, whatever. I think it got in the wrong place.
Yeah,
now.
it did. It's because I thought I was at the same place in the.
Yeah, no, I made the same mistake before as well. Like.
Okay.
Multiple cursors in screen. Let's try save. See what happens.
There we go.
Look at that. Now, we already, from the schema in the database, we already generated the classes that corresponds to the data in the database. I think that's pretty cool.
It is very cool, yes.
And maintaining these things, making sure they're always in sync. That's a little bit hassle, and it's very easy for these things sometimes to sort of start drifting a little bit. Like you don't include all the columns because you're lazy, because it's too much hassle.
Yeah.
And maybe the types is slightly different, but you don't notice it because you don't, the test doesn't check for that or something like that. Here, it will always match, which I think is quite nice.
It's neat, yeah.
So now instead, now it's time. Now this, I think what we can do now is that we implement the read operation, and we implement the read operation in the same way that we did last time, but now we're using this database schema instead of our own model. Right. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
It does, yes.
So
it was over here, wasn't it?
I would suggest we create a new we create a new public static class. And here's the trick. I'm going to show you a little bit of trick here to sort of I don't know if this makes the code easier or not, but what the heck, I'm going to do it anyway.
Go for it.
So what shall we call this? I want to have a helper class, kind of. I'll think about Tapper before I call it that. I'm going to call it. We can change it.
Okay.
T4, like Dapper, first.
Yeah. T4.
Yeah. And we make this a partial class, and in this partial class we create this method called that we're going to implement at some point. I'm just going to take the signature roughly, and we said we want to return an INumerable, right?
Yeah.
And we read, and we just take the name again. It was roughly like this, right?
Yes.
And because it got very long on my screen, I'm gonna sorry.
Okay.
IDB connection, I think, DB connection, comma, and then we can say, well, we can actually generate this SQL string. We can have both, but we can start with we can start with what we had before. No, let's do it like this. We read all. We do a table scan, maybe even. We call it like that. Read the whole table. It's not always the right choice, but sometimes it's okay.
Okay.
Seldom is the right choice, but let's do it. And this is going to be extension method, and we make this a static class tapper, so we can make this extension method. So let's save this and see what happens.
Okay.
We probably have some compiler errors now, but we can fix them.
Nope, that compiled okay. We got some problems here, but
I put partial wrong in the wrong place. I can fix that. And we also have some using statements we have to fix. I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
INumerable is in system collections generic, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we should have those living somewhere in here, so we can just grab this lot, I think.
Yes. Something like that. Yeah, let's save and see what happens. See if someone has something to say in the chat.
No. So launch through .cs, there we go.
Oh yeah, and I forgot static on the method. That's pretty obvious.
Other than that, it looks good.
Yeah. Will you add the static?
Yeah. There we go, let's save that.
Where did you add the static? I didn't see that.
Oops, I put it in the wrong place. To be down here.
Yeah.
There we go. There we are. Wonderful.
So we have our template for kind of the table scan. So given a DB connection, we can now implement a function that reads the full table into an INumerable of Rocket or launch providers, whatever. It's not always what we want to do, but if it's a small database, like we have like 10 objects or 100 objects, that it could be good enough. But more importantly, it's going to show us how to do it, sort of the principles.
Yeah.
I think we just copy paste the code we had in the older one, and then we tinker with it until it works.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the code here. So we can just grab all of this, I guess, can't we?
The thing there inside the middle there, and then we get lots of we'll
grab it all. We'll grab it all, and then we can fix it up.
Maybe I think what's easiest is if we take the generated. Actually, that was quite easy last time.
Oh yeah, we'll do the generated one. That's a good idea. Yeah.
Take the generated one, and then we generalize it.
Okay, so this is the generated version, I believe. Looks like it.
Yeah, that's one of them.
We should be able to just grab that and bring it across into here, and it needs to go in here, doesn't it?
In there, yes. Right, I think is correct.
Yeah.
And remove the yield. I can remove remove it. Yeah, so if you save this is not going to work, right? But the T4 is probably not going to complain about it. So then we can sort of generalize it from here.
Yep.
So it complains a lot, I suspect, about.
It does, but
the query is missing.
Not that bad.
No, it could be worse. Oops. Managed to zoom out. So we need to provide our own query, and that's one thing I see here. But that's actually super simple in this case because we're just doing a table scan. So if you find this, this command text equals query, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's generalize it and make it so it works. And the query in this case for a table scan is just we want to read all the columns, and we want to read all the rows.
Yeah.
So that's just a select star from.
Star, yeah. And in here we want to put the generated table name.
Yes.
And the generated table name is schema_object.name.
Yes.
Okay, save that.
And what happens? So that looks pretty decent.
Yep.
Now everything else is wrong, but at least the select statement seems like it should work. So I think we have start from the top, right? Like we did last time. That the first step we need to generalize is this when we initialize the default values.
Yeah.
So we just loop around the default values, but instead of looping over our own model, we loop over the columns and sort of just initialize them to the default.
Yep. Okay, we can do that. So this is basically what we've got here. We do this get set. So we can grab this code here, I think. Bring that down so we can put it in here. And we need to put that over there, and then I think we're okay there. So rather than this,
because the code kind of intermingles back and forth, I think it's very hard to keep a good indentation in this system. So
yeah.
The only thing I really care about in the end is sort of making sure that it looks nice, the generated code. That's where I am. Yeah, this looks like it could work, right?
Yeah, looks like that should work to me.
You remove the garbage. We save. But it's never used. Yeah. That's fine. Okay, well that's
fine. Yeah.
Then the next thing is this ordinals, where we look up where is the location of the. Now it should be the same location as the table, but I just think it's safer to do.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Ask the reader what is the ordinal of each column. So I guess we just copy paste that for loop again.
Yeah. And here we can just use var.
Yes.
And we've got ord in there, and then we have reader dot get ordinal.
Yeah.
And this is once again going to be this. It's I mean as you said before, it's pretty intuitive, isn't it? So this is going to be column name again.
And then when you work this incremental approach, it's actually it never feels so bad. It doesn't feel too much. We're going to ignore all these kind of issues, like if the name of the columns is a keyword in C#. These kind of things can happen, and they can all be fixed. But these are details I don't want to get into.
No, absolutely. So here we are. So we've got a bit of an indentation issue, but we can sort that out. Oh dear, what happened there?
Yeah, that's the why I have as a recommendation that these brackets should always start on the first character.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, that's a small problem.
Yeah.
Other than that, it looks fine.
Yep.
So then we take the next step where we read the values using this magic thing below. But we just write the magic thing once and then it's repeated.
Okay, so there's the val bits here, so let's do that bit. Now once again we can reuse this piece of code here. And here we can say this is going to be the value this time. And we can copy this row over.
Exactly right.
And we can say that's going to be, once again, column.name equals default. I'll just grab this. Hit me. Stop that. Grab that.
And hopefully the types matches and all that kind of thing. We might have some surprises coming up, but let's hope it works. It looks promising.
CS type name. It's given me the IntelliSense on that CS type name now, which is good. Okay, let's try that.
And just remove the.
Yeah, I'll do that now. Save that. Okay.
Well, it looks like it could be working.
Looks okay to me. I'm down here. Look at another one.
So then it should just be fixing the yield return.
Yeah. So the yield return. So this is going to be
table name.
What do we call it? Schema.
Object.name, I think it was. And you need an equal sign in the beginning.
Oh yes, so we do. And then we need to just do a loop again.
Yes, lots of looping. But these are nice and easy loops. So
let me just copy this line here.
And with trailing commas, we don't have to keep track of the commas. That's brilliant.
Once again, this is simply going to be column
.name. And ID needs to be changed as well. Otherwise, all the columns.
Yeah. Let's give that a go.
So it looks like it compiles.
It certainly does.
So that wasn't so hard, I think. I mean, we wrote most of it last time, and then we just, instead of looping over our own model, we're looping over the database model that we loaded. It's also quite quick. Each time you save, you connect to the database and download the schema.
Yeah.
And generate it. So it's not like I feel I have to, if you have hundreds and hundreds of tables, it might take a bit longer time.
But you're still getting the benefit, aren't you? You wait 10 minutes while it does it, but it's writing hundreds of lines of code, thousands of lines of code.
It can easily hit 10,000. We have now, for our simple data model, we have 400 lines of code. You can imagine if like sitting on a little bit bigger database with 200 tables and 200 columns in each.
Yeah, you're right.
And you can get a little bit more. Sometimes if you do that as well, you might want to have like this filtering saying, well, I only want to include these tables and I don't care about these. You can get submodels.
Yeah.
All that is possible to add, but I don't think we do it this time.
No, we get nice small database anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What happens if you try to use this and now try to read the launch, read some data out of the database?
Okay, so we can get rid of this read launches, can't we? We can get rid of that there, because that's just our initial stuff. Yeah. So we can get rid of all of that, in fact.
And comment that out, I think.
Okay. Is there a comment out?
It's just to keep some code that works, but just comment it out.
We'll just use a block comment on it. Oops.
But the main function we probably want to use still, right? Instead of, or you copy paste that. It doesn't matter.
I was just gonna go down to there.
Yeah, whatever works.
Yeah.
And then I think it was called read_launch, or no, tablescan_launch. And it means we might need to sort of use that namespace. I think it was called launch.
Launch 3, wasn't it? We called it.
Something amazingly like that.
That's what it was.
Yeah, I think it's correct.
Yeah, Launch 3.
Very creative naming here. That's the difference between me and Elon Musk. I can't come up with good names.
Yeah, yes. Oh, we didn't make an extension method, did we?
I think we did.
I'm not so sure we did.
We did make it public.
Well, we did make it an extension method, yes.
But what happens if we do it like this and I just put in the name what that is supposed to be.
Oh, now it's happy.
Yeah. So what happens if we don't have a good toString? But let's see.
Let's use launch view because we've not seen that table before.
Okay. Yeah. We don't have a good toString, so it will probably look crappy, but we see something.
Yeah, we'll see something. Let's give it a go. Let's just save that.
Crashes horribly.
That's a T4 output. I want me PowerShell terminal. Where's my terminal? It's a new terminal. What do we get?
We got some exception.
Yeah, we got an exception of some kind. Oh, where's my terminal? God damn.
I didn't see what it said. Because on my screen it doesn't show up.
No, it's not. Just showing it line 85 in program. So line 85 is this one here.
Yeah, but it should be that's that thing, right? So something before that. What if you run this not inside VS Code?
Visual Studio.
Or try .NET build again and .NET run again.
Yeah.
See if it works.
Okay, there we go. So
but that we agreed last time that that's a different project. It's an SQL project. That's not.
Yes.
So I think it's .NET Run. See what happens.
Okay, so this time it's unable to cast type of system int24, int64 to int32. I wonder why it's complaining about that. So it's the table scan line 72.
Yes.
So
that's an interesting.
Yeah.
But the good thing here is now we can actually.
So it's this here, you say. So I wonder why it's suddenly gone to int32 at that point, because it was int64 when we created it. Oh no, it says int32 there.
So what does the schema say?
Okay. Yeah, the schema's probably. I changed the schema to be a big int. So let's go and have a look at. Let's just change the schema. So I'll just bring up Visual Studio. Not that one.
But it is a little bit surprising because it should actually.
You'd have thought it would do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, let's look at it and see what happens. I'm a little bit confused here. Actually.
I'll tell you what we'll do, just to see if that is the problem. We will on program. We will go back to rather than launch view. We'll go back to launch.
Yeah.
And run that.
Okay, could be a bug in my schema thing. Unthinkable.
No, it's fine. There we are. It's because the schema on the view.
Okay, so the view is not
compatible.
So the view
yeah.
is lying about the data.
Yeah. So let's go.
Shall we copy paste the nice toString we did? So
yeah.
we get.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
So that was over in data include, I believe, and
I think we do the same thing. We copy paste the generated code.
Yeah, okay, good idea.
And then we generalize the generated code from that, because I think that's almost an easier way to work, in my opinion.
Yep. So there it is. So it's this toString here, yeah.
Yeah, and then we just find the corresponding.
Oops. God.
And then we make exactly right. Copy paste it into our. Oof. I have a little bit of lag here, so I'm commenting on your coding with delay.
Hi Dragon, how are you? Shift Control. It probably does, Dragon. I'm just not used to coding in Visual Studio Code. I'm a Visual Studio full IDE kind of guy. So, where were we? Okay, over here, launch suite. So in here, this was in our when we're building our schema tables here. So reach that. Okay, and then we need to go down here and paste that in there, I believe.
Yeah. We
indent it nicely.
Basically, then we just loop over the columns here, like where it says ID, comma, whatever. We just then we place a loop, copy paste loop.
Yep. So we want to remove that there. So it's in here we need to do that. But first we need to
okay, keep the code, and
we need to keep this bit first, don't we? Because that's the name of the table.
Launch tree or whatever it is probably shouldn't be launch tree, but it should be something else, right? It should be the schema object name. Schema object. Wait. Small s, right? Am I wrong?
It is small s, yeah. Okay, then we need a nice loop here for each of the columns.
And then we just copy paste these, these two lines, right? These are the two lines we're going to repeat.
Yeah.
And instead of ID, we put in column name, or column name, right? And the same thing on the append. Once again, this is not a perfect toString, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's great.
And then we remove the rest. I mean, if you consider the effort we put into it, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, virtually no effort at all.
Yeah.
Which is always a good thing. Let's save that.
And then we run it, and then hopefully we can see some data now that makes sense.
I'll do the build just again, but we can ignore the error that comes up. It's some other thing. So let's run it. And there we go. That's correct output. So if we make that bigger.
And I'm waiting for your screen here. That looks pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So we're basically up to where we were last time, right? But now we're using the database schema, and when we change the columns, so we sort of modify that. Now it will just happen, and we get it for free, kind of. And another benefit, I think, with this code here, right? You remember when we had this int32 error?
Yeah.
We got there. We got a line number that we could go in and look at and debug, and we could have put breakpoint errors.
Yeah.
And so dig into it and try to understand.
Let's go and fix that, because I'd like to see the view.
Yeah.
So
while you do that, I'm going to rant on about that thing.
Yeah, you go ahead. You rant away.
So because I think this is a real benefit of how T4 this work, that we generate code that is really simple. I think this is we try to make the code as we can afford to write the code simple when we generate it. And we get nice line numbers. If we could implement all this with reflection, and we could make it work, but then you wouldn't have this line 77 and go in and sort of put the breakpoint in. Then it would happen inside some generic reflection loop, and you wouldn't have that line number you see is the same line numbers for every other table because it's a generic function. Now we get specific code for specifics. So we actually have line numbers that we fire on different line numbers, and I think that just helps debugging. And for people that doesn't love getting involved in all the details of C# and everything like that, I think this is a simpler model, in my opinion.
I agree. So I'm just trying to figure out how to recreate this view.
If you look at the view, can't you just drop view and create view?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to execute the code there.
Yeah, that's always difficult.
Doesn't seem to want to let me do that. So because normally when I'll get a designer, and I don't get a designer for the view.
But what happens if you copy paste that? But if you copy paste that code you have there,
yeah,
and then you delete the view,
and just run it again,
yeah. Because it's probably like what you say. That's what's happening in that you created a view, so the schema tells our because when you created it was int32, so the schema of the view says int32. But then when the data starts coming, it's actually int64, and then we try to cast it, and then it doesn't work.
That's right, yeah.
And it seems like a reasonable explanation. Yeah. Update, save, magic.
There we go. It's created it.
So what happens when we regenerate the? Do you have? Is this in Git repo?
Sorry.
Is this in Git?
It will be in Git, yes.
Yeah. So before we regenerate it, let's commit this.
Okay.
To Git, or you just do a Git add.
I'll just do it through here.
So because then we regenerate and then we can see the differences.
Yeah. Okay, and let's save that and run it. Now we get interesting. So now it's int64 to int32. Maybe that wasn't the problem then.
Did we manage to regenerate it? Sometimes you need to sort of insert a character and then save it again.
Not in there, is it? It's in over here.
I'm not excluding that there is a bug in this because I don't remember me testing views. I should have tried it.
So launch view is coming through as int32 still for some reason, which is interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Whereas it should be int64.
Mm.
It'll be the same for all these.
Do you have access to Let's stop that. We can probably dig that in. That can be a bug, but
I'll take a look at it off stream. I'm sure I can sort it out. So let's go back to.
But this is just to. I can show you a little bit how this thing works, and there could be a bug here, right? So if you click the schema.tt include. So if you scroll down to the row, I'm gonna find the row where the magic happens, and that is row 501.
Yep.
And what happens? This thing actually executes an SQL command towards the schema, towards the database, but it selects to the sys tables. I don't know if you ever use them.
Yes.
The sys tables contains the metadata for the table. So this is just selecting all that, and it's certainly possible that when we select up the table, that the column, the type name or something like that, it's something I messed that up. This is quite complicated to get right.
Yeah, looks it.
So it's not impossible. I don't exclude that as a possibility. But we can drop that for now, I think.
I think we can. Yeah, it's not that important, and I can sort it out. I'm pretty sure it's a matter of just regenerating that view correctly. I don't think it's regenerated properly.
And if you look into metadata, we can probably find it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let's not get too stuck on that thing. So let's now see if we can. So we did a table scan. Let's see if we can make a delete function.
Okay, good.
Which is like a table scan. But now I need to search in my code to remember I find key. Because I had some way to do that. Probably very, very clever. My old self, much smarter than my new self.
I always feel that as well. I feel that. Yeah. Did I write this? I was pretty smart back then. I couldn't write it now.
Why did I continue doing that? Oh yeah, is identity. Yes, I believe I have a column called is identity, which that's a strange name when I think about it. But I think that is the key name. So we can try that at least and see what happens. I think when I did this in the olden days, the databases I typically work with had a single identity column, like an integer, and very few of these identities that were sort of, when you add this column and this column, then you get identity.
Yeah. That
was kind of how my environment looked. But I think is identity could work here, so let's try and see if that works.
Okay.
So you can create a new, instead of table scan, we create a new method which we call delete. And now the delete function is going to take a parameter, which is a column that has all the columns that has identity set. Because we need to pass in the row we want to delete. We don't want to delete. We want to delete a single object, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to pass in the identity value for a single object. So the parameter is the DB connection, and then we add all the identity columns, and that will identify the row. And then we're going to generate the correct SQL to do that.
Okay.
So I think you can just copy paste that first line, public static enumerable, and then we think a little bit with that.
Yeah.
And just add it above, so we don't. And I'm looking at my code here to remember where I found. Oh yeah, here we have schema object type. Yeah, now I remember. Coming back to me. Okay, I see. That's how I thought about it. I see. Okay, well, sorry, I got distracted by my geniusness.
You're very clever.
In the olden days, these days not so much anymore. So the delete method, the way I think about it should return void.
Yeah. Okay. Unit.
Yeah, unit. We are in C# now, and now we're going to sort of add the columns, right? So we're going to loop and add for each column that is identity. We're going to add that to this method.
Okay.
So between DB connection and the parentheses, just make a new line. And now we're going to use, but not trailing commas, because we're going to cheat and make
We're
life
gonna
easier.
have leading commas.
Leading commas. And then you just copy paste the for loop over columns, right?
Can we use a bit of link here? What if we can bring?
Oh yeah, we can do it. But I think you might need to include but they might be included. Yeah, I think my link might work. So okay, so C, I can write. Let me write because I just checked it.
Yep.
So what happened? I'm in the wrong. I'm in the wrong part of the code. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm in complete wrong part of the code. Here we are. Hopefully it works.
Yep. Yeah, you are. That's in the right place.
I think we had something called C identity, like that. Is identity, and then I'm gonna cheat a little bit here. The naming scheme. Well, something like that, right?
Yep.
Let's see what happens. It probably doesn't work.
Well, let's see. It says it's happy.
Look at that. So launch site takes CID, a column ID, or I'm cheating again. Well, we can just call it. I'm going to change it to Dal, and this is just a sort of cheat with the naming scheme, so it looks okayish. But that's a start.
Yeah.
Another problem we're having here is now we don't want to generate this delete function for
the view.
For the view, that's correct. We only want to generate that for when it is a table, right, and not something else. So, and that is, we solve that by adding an if statement. So I'm going to write an if statement here, if that's okay by you.
Yep.
So I'm adding an if statement here.
And this is the fantastic thing about this T4. It's just another piece of C#, isn't it, that's going in there. Hey, Ancient Coder, good evening. Welcome to the stream.
I'm kind of writing from memory, so let's see how that goes. Now I'm going to do a small incremental step. I know this is not going to change, but let's see if this compiles.
Yeah.
So, but what this thing is, the intention is that what happened?
Schema object type does not exist.
Okay, I see now. I think once again try to be smart here. I hate that. What does that? No, I did the wrong thing. Yes, you're right. So what happens then?
It's processing successfully. So now we've got.
It doesn't do anything different, but it processed successfully. So now what I'm going to change is just I'm going to wrap this whole thing. Once again, do small incremental steps. It's just making life easier for yourself. And then we put it down here, right?
Yeah.
And then we save and see what happens.
Okay, that's processed. And do we have a delete for the view? Let's see. Go to the top of this file.
Boy, it's hard. As soon as I. No, according to me,
it's not there. Excellent.
Table scan, but not a delete.
Yeah. And then if you come down. Oops, you've moved over. Okay. I was just going to scroll down a bit on launch TT on the generated file and just show that for example for launch we have the start of our delete function. Brilliant.
Yeah. So we want to a table scan kind of over a view, but we don't want to do it over we don't want to be able to sort of delete from a view. We want that's only on the table. And now we using the identity on the column, we now have we now have sort of what I mean say we have all the data in that we need to generate the
delete function. Yeah.
So I think what we're going to do here, right, is let's just write the delete function, but let's write it in non-generic, and then we make it generic again.
Okay.
So we write the code in the CS file, and we're going to be very sad if we manage to sort of regenerate the template, because then it's all lost. But then we get the basic thing. So I think we just copy paste this using var command db connection, because we need a command, right?
Yeah. We need this.
Yeah. And we copy paste that in here, right? Yes. And then we're going to say delete from, right?
Yeah.
Launch yes. Where ID small d, right?
You're right.
Equals @id. We want to use these commands, right?
Val ID, yeah.
These parameters.
Yeah.
At.
Yes, at val ID.
Yeah, that could work.
Yeah.
And then we're going to execute this thing, right? And that's not an that's not a query, right? That's just a normal non-query execute, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Let's see how that works. Command is it execute?
CMD. Execute non-query.
Done.
Looks like that should do it.
Then we also need to add the parameters, right?
Oh yeah.
What is the parameter it wants? Okay. So now we need to create these parameter objects, right?
This percentage one, yeah.
And I kind of not really remember how to do it. But I think it's something like this, right? I'm just checking. So var val PID, I don't know. Something like this, perhaps. Command create parameter PID name equal something like this, right? Am I? What is complaining? Name
doesn't contain name, so I think it's probably his parameter name.
It might be. Yeah. PID dot value equal val ID. Am I right or wrong? It's so long since I did this. Direction equals parameter direction input, right?
Seems okay to me.
That's something. And do we need to add it? I forgot. This is something I also forgot.
I think you do need to add it, yes.
Yeah. Let me add the PID. So I mean, if we don't screw up, this should be the general look of the code, if I'm correct.
I'm going to copy that.
So we just copy paste everything here, right? And then we generalize it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good pattern again, and sort of write something specific and then we make it general.
Okay.
So what do we need to make again? Well, we need to loop again over all is identity columns and create a parameter for each, and then initialize it correctly.
Yeah. So we can grab this code here. We can grab that. So this is going to be once again our column.name.
Yeah. Copy paste, copy that thing, because we're going to write it many times.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so that's a little bit of repetition, but we only do it here. and val ID at ID. But this is the thing also. If you would sort of copy paste this code manually, you would have to remember to change in all these different places.
Yeah, so we just do it once.
Now we do it once, and it's kind of obvious when we do it wrong, because then it's going to say ID not found, something like that.
Yeah.
Let's save and see what happens.
Okay.
I think we did something wrong here, right? Because well, it's not. No, it's not really wrong.
It's not generated it, has it?
Didn't work.
Don't think it generated. Let's just.
No, it hasn't generated actually.
Try again.
Yeah. Did you get an error, perhaps?
We don't seem to get an error. But it's certainly not. Oh, we got generated code there, but is that what we added ourselves? Launch. Let's go down to the next one. No, it's not generating for some reason. Let's go back and have a look why it's not generating. So I think it's probably not finding any columns. Is that the problem?
No, but it should generate this for each. What if you close the file you have is modified? What if you close the CS file if you have local modifications there, that it doesn't reload the file properly?
Yeah, it could be.
It hasn't been that before, but it could be.
It could be.
Time.
Could be. CS file. Now this looks a bit better now, because that is a rocket. There's a delete.
Yeah, a delete rocket, yes.
Delete rocket.
And we have the ID. Now we need to make sure that we need to fix the
delete command. Yeah.
Yes, and we need to fix it in. Yes. The obvious thing is a table, but we could, in theory, have with multiple.
Indeed, multiple identity columns.
Yeah, but the obvious thing to start with is the table name, and that's kind of easy.
Subject not name.
Now, unfortunately, we can't. Well, I'm going to write some code here, and then I'm not going to be proud of it, but it's going to make make it a little bit simpler at least.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to borrow. How do we do this? No. Okay. So now I'm going to do things slightly different, and the reason I want to do this slightly different than we've done it before is because we don't have trail. We need to put an and between each command, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
And in order to make that simpler with these things, I'm going to change the code pattern that we've written. But this is normal C#, so it's not like something magic.
Right.
It's just that we're going to iterate differently over the columns. So I'm going to copy paste this column code again.
Yeah.
Because we need to do that. And can I have a string builder here? New string builder.
Okay, I see what you're going to do. You're going to build up that command in there. Okay.
Exactly right. And if sb.length is greater than 0, then we append. Is it like that? Or no, is it
just the word and, yeah.
Yeah. Else we go sb append column dot name, right?
Yeah.
No, this is almost right, a little bit wrong. Equals to at column dot name.
You need a p underscore in there.
I don't think so.
No.
Because we didn't have the p underscore when we wrote the parameter name.
Okay, I thought we did.
So I think let's see what happens.
Okay.
It looks a little bit funny on my screen, but I'm not sure it looks funny on your screen.
Yeah, the E is red for some reason. Not quite sure why.
Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Oh, is it? Oh no. Okay.
No. Now I know. I'm confused because how it's that you write this thing in C#. You write it like this, and the dollar sign, is it that?
Yeah, we can do the dollar.
Then you have to find the dollar sign on this Mac thing.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm a Swedish citizen. I have a Swedish keyboard, and that it requires some gymnastics to write these things on the
Does
Swedish.
it really? Curly braces? Okay, that's interesting.
It's Shift, Alt, 7 and 8.
Oh my!
There's some kind of logic to it, but it's not pleasant.
That must be very difficult because we write an awful lot of those, and I can see why you like F#.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe it's the sheer pain of writing curly braces.
Let's see. Can that work? You get what I'm going for, right?
Yes.
So
let's try
we're
it.
looping all the columns, and if the length is greater than 0, then we need to put an and in between, and then we just column name equals at name, and then we add this built-up string to the delete. Let's see if that works.
So we got an error then. So it says that unexpected character $. I think it didn't like line 97. Didn't like that $ sign in there.
Can it be that it has an older version of C#?
Shouldn't do. We should be on C#8.
Yeah.
I assume. Certainly.
Let's not get hung up on that, and just let's try to sort of fix it so it.
Just do a string.format on it.
I'm not very proud of this code, but it's so let's see if that works better.
Give it a go. Okay, now it's complaining about line 104. What's it saying? Does not contain definition for name. It's this schema object rather than schema.name, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's simple enough.
Save that. Okay, that's happy now.
And how does
happier? We got some errors in the file, but let's have a look at. Yeah.
So we forgot the trailing. This is F# damage thing.
Mm-hmm.
I always forgot the semicolons.
And we do have p_id up here, the parameter.
Yeah. But the parameter name is ID.
ID, okay, fair enough.
So I think that is the important thing.
Right. Yep, okay, I understand what you mean, yep.
I might be wrong.
I don't know, I can't remember.
I'm being surprised before. But the purpose is not, we find out all these details.
Yeah. We just need to put a semicolon on the end of that, don't we?
I think I did.
Did you? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because it's semicolon after the string. I've got the last semicolon.
Yeah. I think it's happy now. There we are, yeah. Semicolon's in place.
Okay. So what have we done now, right? We created this table scan, but now using the metadata in the tables. Now using the metadata in the tables, we generate a delete method that takes all the keys as an input parameters to delete a single row in a rocket or whatever, and then we generate the commands, the delete command from that thing, and create a filter appropriately. So I think that's once again, I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So Dragon Eye is asking about if we've scheduled any shader streams yet. So Dragon Eye, I think that Mårten and I are going to discuss how we can make that happen. I think it's a bit more complex to set up than perhaps.
It's a more complex setup, yes.
Yeah,
but,
the setup is a bit more complex, yeah. But yeah, we're going to do it. I think we're going to do it, Mårten, aren't we?
Yeah, I would love doing that. I think you would enjoy that because you have these shaders that you use, the ones I created.
Yep.
So we could try to create a new one.
Yeah, it'd be great.
There's a lot of trial and error, I must admit. So, but we can create a framework for a new one, and then we tinker with it.
Yeah, and that's part of the fun of it, isn't it? It's just that's what I like doing the music bits, because you get some basic stuff, and then you can start changing the parameters on your filter or your delay, and just hear the weird and wonderful sounds that come out of it. So
yeah, and the same thing with shaders as with T4 and the sound as you described. Is like
I
work incrementally.
Yeah,
like I try something, and if it's incrementally better, I try to go down that road. And if it's worse, I might still go that if I think it's valuable. But I continuously try. And I like working that way. You sort of feel constant progress, or at least constant change.
Yes.
Instead of sometimes you're working on a programming problem, and you're just coding and coding and coding and coding for weeks, it feels, and you have no idea if it's ever going to work. Or if it's ever going to.
And this is the situation I'm in at the moment at work. Is I've got masses of code to convert from one schema to another schema.
Yeah.
The target schema has no data in it. And it would take me an awful long time to create sample data. So I've got loads of code which I've written, and I can't test it. I simply can't test it. I think it looks right. I know it's probably got bugs in it, but until we get the schema complete and some test data in there, I can't test anything. So yeah, it's a very frustrating situation to be in.
Do you think we should add a new table and we make two key columns on that table and see if that works?
Good idea, yes. We could do that.
I mean, we might expose bugs in my old schema TT include, but we can try.
Yeah, we can do that. So, what have we got so far? We've got so if we create a new table.
And also, when we delete stuff, we can delete a new table that doesn't contain anything.
That's right, yeah. Add a new table.
Identity, yeah. Okay, can you have multiple identity columns?
I don't know. It's a good question.
It might not. It might. Well, we see what happens. I think when I think about it, I think it might be constraints. Well, we see. We're going to see what's happened. It's going to be interesting. Always begins. That's rule number 1.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to figure out how to make these identities. So that's currently identity. Can we make both of them?
Let's call the first column maybe year. And
there we go. But they're both ID1 and ID2 are primary keys. So we'll call this ID and name. So ID and name are going to be.
This is something you have to read up on the side. When I think, well, yeah, I think we're going to see a bug in my code here.
Okay, never mind. That's okay. Yeah. And just call it data as a string. There's a HR50. There we go. That'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So we've got a test table in there now. So we put some. Do you want to see how it deals with that first?
Yeah, we can just generate and see how the code looks, and then we can maybe see that it didn't really work. We see what happens.
Yeah.
That's also, I think, what's nice with this T4, that if it doesn't work, you can at least look at the code and it makes sense. Oh yeah, this is just rubbish. Don't even try it. but if you use kind of a reflection-based thing, and it don't support this thing, and then you get really weird bugs. So if you search for test thing.
I think I called it test table, didn't I? What I did. Test table, yeah.
Do we have this modified file problem again?
Possibly.
You save this. If you look in the Server Explorer, it exists.
Yeah. Let me just check in here that we actually got the table created. Yeah, test table exists, so that's fine. Let's just run the TT file again. No, doesn't find it. No, it's not finding it.
We see that it says there is a modified flag on the file.
Yeah, I don't know why it says that. I've said to save all.
So if you try to close that file and we try to
reopen it, yeah, okay.
Or whatever, how we do it.
Weird.
Or some other thing.
Tell you what, I'm going to close this.
But sometimes you need to change the character in the TT file before it to sort of
Yeah, I did change the file. Yeah, so we may have lost our collaboration session. Let's see if it will come back.
Oh yeah. Do you share a new link? Or?
I'll share a new link for you. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oops, don't want to do that. Right. There's the new link. Right, let's see what we've got with this then. So if we just go to the TT file and just change the character, save.
And it said it processed, right?
Yeah. How strange.
Maybe we use these local file DBs. Maybe haven't changed them. Oh wow.
That's really strange, isn't it? Because we've got a table.
We close Visual Studio and we close this thing. So I mean, if there's anything that's sort of cached and not. Let's add some data to it.
Yeah, we'll do that. Interesting, we don't seem to have code view, do we? Have the designer view.
And you can't add data to it.
No.
Did you update it or no? But it says it exists there. You have mixed tabs and spaces. Fix this.
In none of those aren't identities either.
No.
So.
But they're tagged as primary key.
Mm.
But that's probably bugs. But it should show up. I think it shouldn't.
Yeah, it should show up. It should be there.
And it's also strange that you cannot add data to it, I think.
Yeah.
What is the play button there? But if you click that thing,
just wants me to connect to okay, maybe this is it.
okay, interesting.
Got no data on it. What's that all about? There's an audio object, so it's definitely there. So let's just try running the TT file again.
Yeah, this is it's a weird one in many ways.
It's not finding it, but something's not generating it for some reason. I don't think it's getting it from the data. The database isn't picking it up. It's a bit
I'm sure
odd.
this is a simple thing that we get stuck on here.
Yeah, let's just gloss over that for now. And I'll try and sort it out off stream.
Yeah. So what do you want to do now?
We want to do queries, don't we? We want to be able to pass a query in. We've got table scan. That's fairly trivial, I suppose, isn't it? We've already got a read function.
Yeah, I was thinking if we should do a create method
or do a create, yeah.
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 How do you want the signature to create to look? Should it be that it takes this object, and then we sort of it could take this row like users or object.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then we do an insert.
Yep, that'd be good.
Yeah. Yes. And then we're going to cheat a little bit and the identity columns in your database, are they like these self-incrementing ones?
They are, yes. So
yeah.
they're true identities, yeah.
Then we have to remember that when we do them, we don't insert them. We
That's
have to skip them.
Yeah.
But we can start from the delete method, right?
Hi, Rambling Geek. Good to see you. Welcome to chat. Yep, we can start with the delete method and work on that. Yes, we can build that into the insert.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also generated like these upsearch or merge methods. They are.
Yeah, so those are good as well.
Yeah, and they are often a pain to write.
Yeah.
So they can really help when you generate a nice one that always works. So yeah. So I guess we start with the skeleton. If you take this static method, same thing here. It should be like if it's a table object, then we so it should be an if statement, right?
Yeah.
And then could even be inside the if statement. We don't have to. Yeah, you do what you think is best.
I'm just going to disconnect you because I just pasted that somewhere. I don't know where I pasted it.
That happened because I thought I was the you, and then I started writing.
I'm going to undo that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the delete. Oh, there it is. It's there. Look, that's where it is. So.
And then we need the end for if statement, the if thing.
Yeah.
And we call this create, this method, right?
Yeah.
And then we add the end parentheses, and then we can actually add comma, right? Comma, and the name of the class, which is schema name, right?
Yeah.
And value or row or something like that.
Call it row data.
Yep. And then we generate this thing, and hopefully this time it generates enough.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the weird thing about that is it's strange, isn't it? Create command. It should be above there, shouldn't it? It should be in here, I thought. Oh, that's the table. That's the view. So we know it's in here. There we are. There's it. So it is generating okay. So that's strange. I wonder if it generated a test this time. Let's just have a quick look. No, it's not. It didn't do that. I think that table is not in the metadata for some reason.
Somehow it's not correct, or it's missed by the filters for some reason. I don't know. It could have some flags. I don't know.
Yeah, let's forget about it.
Might be bugs in my code, if I'm being honest. So we had a little bit of problem. I'm going to fix that for you very quickly. We had a little problem with indentation. For that. And this thing kind of. So I guess a good way, at least I think a way forward, is that we try to sort of write the non-general code, and then we generalize it as before.
Yeah.
And so let's try to do that.
Okay. So we want something along these lines still.
I think we start a little bit like the delete command, right?
Yeah. So we want to grab. We want this, don't we?
This initial thing, the command type, and probably command parameters and these kind of things.
Yeah.
Basically, I think everything.
Everything from there, you reckon? Okay.
We're not going to do we're going to do an insert instead of a delete.
Okay. So we've added our parameters there.
So I was thinking, the way I was thinking about doing this.
Okay, you take over.
Yeah, I switched to launch.cs file instead.
Oh, okay, right, okay, and do it in there.
The general code, we write the non-general code first.
Okay.
So we get the basic flow for it, and we think, well, this is pretty cool, and then we generalize it from there. That's how I thought we could do.
Okay, fine.
Because at least I find it a little bit more. I kind of like that. So I can copy paste that code into Crate.
Okay.
And when we get the gist of it, right, we just switch back to the what we do. So can I write something?
Yeah, you carry on.
So I guess what we want to write is something like the insert here, insert launch, and then we list the columns, but we're not going to list the ID column, because the ID column is the ID column is like given because it's a computed column. If it's like that, we're going to assume it works like that.
That's right, exactly how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to list here is like, mission. It says here, right? And I'm confused because it's green, and then we use the mission parameter, and then we have launch provider, and then we make a launch provider parameter, so we don't get the SQL injections. They suck, and so on.
Yep.
And then up here, what we do now is that we create these commands, and then we say mission. So it's and this we're gonna get from mission. Like that.
Yeah.
And then we repeat it a bunch of times. But am I right in that this should be the rough structure?
That seems okay to me, from what I can tell.
Yeah. So let's then we can copy paste this code, I guess, into the T4 code.
We're going to want to pull out this bit of code here, aren't we? No, that should be okay, shouldn't it? We need to pull this out of the for each, don't we?
They should be after and before, right?
Yeah. It's basically going to go there, but we need to put a loop in there as well, I think, don't we?
Yeah, and the using is outside the column.
Yeah, it is.
So look at this loop. As well as this command text thing, command type, that's also outside.
True.
That's the set. And now we do the opposite filtering, right? From we did before. Before we was filtering everything that is identity. Now we actually want not identity.
Yeah.
And instead of mission, we have this, copy paste in this column name.
So let's just put that in for this, and I'll just copy it.
Look at that.
Makes it good. And then we want to do this again.
In action. Yeah, that's good. And what happens when we save? How does that look? Let's just not try to make it smart or like completely. Let's just try to sort of make it compile and run. So we do it in small incremental steps.
Yeah. Okay. What I'll do is I'll just copy that lot.
Yeah.
Cut it. Okay. I need to paste that back.
I suggest removing this for each, and we do it.
Yeah.
Keep the command text and these kind of things.
Yeah, I'll get rid of these. Yeah. Got to get a bit lost with my curly braces there. Let's save this and see what happens. We get our lines. Expected a closing bracket. So it's the using statement, so I just need it in there. Just put it like that for now.
Yeah, I think we might be missing one, right? I think we're missing one, so we're gonna add another one.
Yeah, I think we are missing another one. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
See what happens.
Successfully by the
space tab here. This is crazy.
I know, it's really weird that won't line up at all.
Yeah. Oh well.
So there we go. That's looking pretty good. No, it hasn't generated that, has it?
No.
So let's just save all.
Is it because I had it open, perhaps? Yeah. Fail to save. No, yeah, the content.
Just won't save it, and then we'll just regenerate.
Start it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just that it's because we've been playing around in both files.
Yeah,
so what's this saying? It's saying that there's a missing curly brace still. So put that in there. Save. Still expecting a curly brace. So we're missing a brace somewhere.
These curly braces we are missing that's what is something we're missing in the T4 file, and I think we're missing for this. I think I found it, but I might be wrong. I think we're missing it for the if statement.
Yes, so do I.
So I'm just going to add that. Let's see. So when you get these errors, when
happy now.
When no code is generated, then it's like something wrong inside
the T4 code. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get code that is wrong, that's usually much better because it's very hard to work with this not.
So that's the view, which doesn't have a create. So here's the create launch. There we go. So it's created all the different parameters, which is great because that's really, really boring code to write, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
All that lot.
Really, blah.
Yeah, terrible. So we got all the parameters set up, and we now
now we just have to fix the
command text. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this code is simple to write. It's just horrible to write.
Yeah, who wants to spend all day writing that, copy pasting it, and then making an error because you misspelled something?
Yeah. So this is the power. So now we have to do a kind of similar trick, like we have to when we generate, we have to generate with comma separated things, and I think we can copy paste the code we did with the string builder before and tweak it a little bit.
Okay. You doing that, or am I doing that?
I can do that.
You grab it, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I can come up with some. So start by here, and I like to sort of let's just save it and see what happens. Does it complain if you run the T4?
Seems happy.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make short names because I'm lazy now. For parameter list, and VL is for variable list. So
okay,
value list. It's not good. Okay. Move on.
This is the F sharp in you coming out, I think.
Yeah. Sure. So I mean, you can write in T4. You can write helper functions for all these kind of things. There are elegant ways of doing it. I'm just going to make it work for now.
Yeah, that's all we're trying to show. I mean, this can be refactored, as you say.
Yeah. Column dot name, I believe, and the VL list is
same. Yeah.
Like that. And can it be as simple? So then I just use the PL here, the parameter list, and then we have the value list. And hopefully I coded this reasonably correct.
Right, we're about to find out.
Yeah.
That's built.
Looks okay on my screen.
It does look good, yes. There it is.
So once again, this code is not hard to write at all. It's just very tedious and boring, and you don't want to do it. It's whenever I write this is always a little bit dangerous. Whenever we have that feeling, it's a little bit scary. But I feel smart when doing this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm saving myself so much hassle.
Well, I think, as we said last time, you're just using your programming skills to solve a problem, and that problem is just to create repetitive code.
Yeah. And because sometimes people, when they do this, they think, it's such a hassle, so they avoid using these parameters because it's too much of a hassle of creating parameters, you might think. So instead, you just use string concatenation.
Yeah, really bad.
And then you introduce these SQL injection problems. But here, we do the right thing, I think, and we do it once, but it's repeated automatically by the computer. And when this thing crashes, we actually have code that we can debug. And this code, even though it's repetitive, I think most people would say, yeah, I get what this does.
Yeah, I mean, it's a familiar pattern, isn't it?
Yeah. Probably it's just people are, whenever you see that, you say, boy, SMB is really consistent in his coding standards. It's very, very, he never cheats, and reuses variables. But that's so easy to do here.
Yeah.
Because we discussed this the other time. It's not that we eliminate the code repetition here. The T4 is generating repetitive code. But the difference is that we are the code we maintain and sort of think about and write is non-repetitive.
Yeah, it's dry, isn't it? So at that point, so the T4 template itself, apart from the fact we're having to reuse the loops and things like that. We're only writing the code once.
Yeah, and another thing is like, I think I touched on it last time. It's like whenever I try to fix this inside the language, F# or C# or whatever, in order to eliminate this kind of sometimes repetitive code, I reach for like complex tools.
Yes.
It allows me to do things by reflection, which I think is complex. I know reflection. I've written a lot of reflection. I consider it complex. But here I can choose to generate simple code that most people, I think, can look at and think, okay, this is simple. This is not hard. Because I don't have to reach for the complex code, because I don't mind that it's simple, because I'm not maintaining it, if I get my point across.
Yes, absolutely. So we're looking after just the templating side of it, and then the rest of it's all generated for us. And the templating is, once again, simple to understand because it's simply C# with a few angle brackets and hashtags in it. It's
yeah, I
simple.
mean, you use PHP, you understand T4.
Yeah.
But now it's C#, so it's kind of ASP.NET almost, thing like that.
And so you can get arbitrary complex. You say you can build all kinds of library of helper functions there to kind of abstract away a lot of the other stuff we've got. So your building of the comma separated strings and the and separated strings, which all squirrel away into helper functions. Just call them in, and this code gets even simpler.
Yeah, and as you see, we're creating this schema include files, and you can build up all these kind of T4 helper classes.
Yeah.
It's always a sort of trade-off, because when you start building too much into the T4, it might get to, now it's getting really complex, but you have to find a balance. But I think we've done some pretty cool stuff tonight, actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, really good.
We created we read the database schema, and we created a table scan, and we created a delete function that takes as an input parameter the primary key, or at least identity, and we created an insert command. So I think that's pretty decent. And we get it, and we didn't implement it for a single table. We got it for every table.
And we got a view thrown in free, so I forgot they even created that view.
So I hope you can see, a little bit what I wanted to show. That is how you can use the schema, the metadata that already exist, and generate C# code from that.
Yeah, it's really, really fascinating stuff. Last time we did this, it kind of opened my eyes to what the possibilities, and I'm constantly now looking out for chances to use it. So what some of my colleagues at work have created it's a system which is used for generating online application forms. Mm-hmm. Basically, all the questions and the where they map to on a database, and all the validation, that's all held in JSON. So big JSON file. And I said to them, writing that JSON file, it could do with being generated. Can you write a tool to generate it? And I thought, well, about why are we writing the tool? We could just have a model, which is simply a list of questions, what the data type of the questions is, and what the validation is, and then T4 it.
Yep.
And writing JSON is easy, isn't it? It's just an effective thing.
That's I think one of the powers with T4 is that it is just C# to text tool, kind of. And this concept of model and transforms and I think that just helps you think about the problem. But you write a C# program that writes text, and you can write a normal console program. It's just that I think that this kind of T4 template style helps a little bit.
Yes, I agree.
And also this programming model they implemented in Visual Studio is like you constantly save, and then you see what happened, and you can work very incrementally towards the problem. You change a little bit, save it, see what happened. Oh, it's better, it's worse. Change it, save again.
I was getting ahead of myself out there. I was kind of wanting to dive, as you say, dive straight in, but you keep pulling me back, saying no, cut and paste the code, or write the code as you want it to appear, and then convert it, and that is definitely the way to go.
I think so. That is the way to go, because otherwise we might get stuck in the minutiae of the generation instead of how do I want it to look? And that's at least how I think about it. So yeah, very good. I'm glad I could show a little bit of T4, and I think it seems like you agree that this is not very complicated.
It's not rocket science.
No.
It's a rocket database, but it's not rocket science.
And I think another thing which is good about this, that I felt that when I left T4 behind me in project I worked, I felt that people could handle it at least.
Yeah.
They might not like it. That's not always, but at least they can see, yes, I can work with this. I can understand it. It's not hard. But when I left other things behind me, like C++ partial templates from hell, I had this feeling like I'm not sure they can work with that. It's not that I'm so smart. It's just that it's complex stuff and that it's unusual.
Yeah, so not everyone's going to have that kind of experience, are they? Especially if they're kind of coming into those jobs fresh, something like that. They're not going to know.
They have not read the books I've read. They have coming from a different angle than what I am coming from. You know, and it's hard for me sometimes to read this kind of template code that I haven't written, or I've written. So, but with this thing, at least, I think you can kind of get it. And another thing here is like, let's say you completely mess up your template code, so it's a complete mess. Well, you can say, well, we can't use the TT file anymore because we messed that up. Well, you can start working with the CS file then.
You still got the code. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes when I refactor stuff, and this is something you actually can apply. It's not always super simple, but it's possible that you're saying, okay, this is our horrible repetitive code. I'm now going to write a template that writes that code. So I start from something that exists, which is not good, and then I try to sort of recreate it as identical as it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because often when I recreate it, I find that wait a minute, this method here has some copy paste bugs in it that it shouldn't have, but you find that when you do these kind of things.
Yeah. And then you can refactor. You can refactor from that point, aren't you? You can start to refactor the code and regenerate it using your T4 template as well. So. Yeah.
And this schema T include I showed here, this was the tool I used many years ago when I read the schema from one database and read the schema from another database, and then I diffed them and generated this diff script, which is also a quite complex thing, if I'm being honest. But it was better than writing 300,000 lines of code.
And you wrote it once, didn't you? So
yeah. So many things you can do here.
I think you told the story how you'd created that, and then when your boss suddenly dropped in on you and said, you need to write this this other sync program, within 30 minutes you had it done. It was live.
Yeah.
So because you'd put that effort in to write the templating, and then so that the future tasks were very simple. Yeah.
And I also remember when starting with that, it's like I thought to myself, okay, I know T4 is my hammer. I will try to do this the real way. I will try to do this the real way, and but then after a while, I just got so frustrated by copy pasting the same amount over again. Some people are commenting we are old.
I think so there's an unhealthy obsession with age in Twitch, I think.
Yeah, but if you're being honest, we are a little bit older than.
Yeah, getting a bit long in the tooth, triple orange. So it's a fair comment. But,
you get there.
Yeah, eventually you'll be as old as we are.
Yeah, but so I hope. No. Enjoy your youth. You get programming in a while. So another thing I wanted to mention, maybe I showed that last time, but I want to show you another thing which I created a few years ago, which is another thing you can do with T4, which might not be obvious that you can do. Thanks for following.
Yeah, thank you, Trippy Orange. Thank you for that follow. And yet, I wouldn't trade your youth if I were you, to be honest. You're living in exciting times, so and the programming knowledge will come. Well, you got to keep working at it, keep writing code. That's the secret, as well as banging the rocks together.
So if you go to GitHub, and you in the browser, maybe I share a link with you in
share it with me.
What's called this Skype thing, these modern things.
Called electronic mail.
Email. Heard about that? It's cool. Yeah. Boy, I remember when I saw email first time. It was really. I could just feel it. This is going to transform the world. I shared a link with you here. I hope you can go there.
Yeah,
and it's called T4 include. And I'm going to look at finding some test examples here. So the idea with T4 include, what is this thing then? Well, what I wanted to sort of achieve with T4 include when I created this thing is I'm looking for examples of while I'm talking. It's always difficult.
Yes, I know, it is very difficult.
But what I wanted to achieve with T4 include is that I want to be able to sort of include files from the web. So when you use C++, you type include.
Yes.
And you include file. And when I use C++, I was struck by, boy, it's really simple to share code when all the code is inside the include. You don't need the libraries. When you add libraries in C++, it gets complicated. But when the code is inside the include, it's so simple to share code.
Yeah, it just copies the code into the file, doesn't it? There's nothing magic about it at all.
And it just works very nice.
Yeah.
And it doesn't create any sort of because when you have DLLs and assemblies, they can create conflicts because you have a log assembly that is common, and there's a slightly different version than everybody else is using, and then you have this problem of sort of which DLL is sort of there's conflicts, and then they should use semantic versioning, but they don't really do it, so it doesn't work. You cannot find this combination that works.
We used to call it DLL hell.
DLL hell, and it's called share SO file hell on Linux. In Java, it's called jar hell. It's this hell exists everywhere where you have dependencies.
Copper Beardy, welcome to the stream. Good evening to you. Good to see you.
So what I wanted to achieve with this T4 include many years ago was the possibility to include files from the web.
Right.
And you sort of share source code. To share source code, not binaries, but share the actual source code, because at that time we also had Silverlight, forgotten technology.
That's going back a bit.
Yeah, and you see the 7 years ago here, right?
Yeah, ancient technology that is.
Yeah, so, but the thing was Silverlight is like you couldn't compile a DLL that worked in Silverlight and it worked in .NET, but often the source code worked.
Yeah.
If you just could get the source code, it was often compatible, at least simple stuff. So then I wanted to sort of create something that allowed me to sort of write and share source code using not the binary. So if you click the non-source thing here, and inside the non-source you click the test code, and I'm going to see if I can find some good examples here.
Okay.
So, and if you click T4 test include, and you click include web files, I think that's the right one. No, sorry, back off. Click include files.tt.
Okay, got
it. Is that the right one?
Very short.
Yeah. So if you go to the bottom there, you see what it says. It said include extension, basic extension include a console log. The idea here is that I want to include some basic extensions that I always used.
Yeah.
And I want to include a common log file. And what this is a T4 file that downloads these files from this repository and package them inside the generated CS file. So if you go to the CS file for this thing, if you back out and you click include files.cs, it has packaged this thing and into one gigantic files, or not gigantic, but a little bit big. And so it pulls in these dependencies and put them in this file. And another thing you can see on top of here is that it actually, when it includes basic extension, it realizes, okay, I need a common array extension and I need a common config extension. So it actually finds dependencies and it downloads as well, like the config. Another good thing about this thing is like sometimes when you include an assembly, I just want to use 1% of that assembly, but I get 100%.
Yes.
With T4 included, it was designed so it should always include the minimum. So you get, if you use 1%, you get 1%. Don't get 100%. But anyway, long story short, the cool thing I think about this thing is this is another usage of T4, because this is a normal T4 file, and the model here is just the files you want to include, and then I connect to a GitHub and just download the files and concatenate them together in this CS file. And this is old stuff, but when I was a C# programmer, I honestly thought it's worked quite well.
It's very impressive. I like the way it works out the dependencies and brings everything it needs down.
Yeah, and this is another tip as well when you work with T4, and because you don't have a debugger, you notice there's no debugger here, nothing to see. But you can always print to the generated code as long as it executes, and you can print what the program thinks it's doing.
Yeah.
And that helps you actually quite much when debugging. So this is just another example. I want to show you this example on things, crazy stuff you can do, which you might not.
Yeah, it's certainly an unusual use of T4. Very, very clever.
So T4 has lots of possibilities. Maybe another thing I will try. Yeah. Okay. So and we kind of think about wrapping up, but if you go to test WPF, so you have the tests there, and you go test WPF. So I like WPF, but it's a hassle to write some of the things in WPF, and especially now I think I'm in the wrong here. Yeah, this was a long time ago. Yeah. Sorry, SMB. I was looking in the wrong place. I knew what was after. Okay, if you don't mind, if you go back and you go back to the WPF at the root level, and if you go in there, you will see all these kind of generated busy wait dependencies and whatnot.
Yes.
The idea with these things is it's a really pain in the butt to sort of generate dependency properties. So if you click the bottom file, busy wait or whatever, something like that, or some file, it's okay. I'm waiting. TT file.
I've got a TT file there, yeah.
Yeah. So now I see what's you're a little bit delayed, but this come back to what we did with the view model, in that I want to declare a few dependency properties because they're really good. Animation clock, and this is also an attached property, and I have is waiting, and from this thing here we generate using T4, we generate the dependency properties. You back out here and look at the CS file instead, you will see that contains quite much code.
Yeah.
So that's once again is little bit what we did before, but the idea with T4 included is that it should also give you this kind of reusable templates that can help. Yeah, you see, enormous amount of code.
Yeah, absolutely, and you had 3 or 4 lines of code in your TT template. So
yeah, but this is kind of what you need to write if you want to write idiomatic correct dependency properties, and dependency properties are great because you can animate them, and they have all these nice properties. They can be attached, which is a brilliant thing. They can also be inherited, which is another brilliant thing. But you have to write this horrible code. And this is, once again, I think with T4, okay, well, I need to do that, but I don't have to maintain this code. I can actually generate this code. So, oh well.
So Tipple Orange has said that he wants to be as passionate as you, Mårten. So I do agree. Mårten is a tremendous advocate for everything software development, and he has lots of wisdom. So listen.
When I talk about T4, I get passionate.
Yeah,
this is so good. Why don't people see it? I don't get it.
Yeah.
No.
And it's been around for years, hasn't it? So it's nothing new. This is not a new technology. It's been around. I think when I was in my previous job, and I was in that job for 14 years, I think we used T4 templates back then, and that must be 12 or 14 years ago now. So this is not new technology.
I believe the first version in VStudio came along in 2005 as a plugin, if I remember correctly. I didn't learn about it until 2008, but I got hooked on it really hard. But this idea is not new. If you go back, you can find there was an IDE. I don't know if it's called CodeRush or something like that. Code that was based on this idea of code generation. But so I would try to stop talking about T4. It's hard for me to stop talking about T4. But a thing I think is very important with what we have been doing is that you should never give up the control you have as a programmer of the template. Because sometimes people say they buy a tool that generates the code for you. And then you are like, and then it generates crap code and you're not happy with that. And then you get sad.
Yeah.
But with T4, I think what's important for me is that if I'm not happy with the code it generates, I'm in control. I can change the generator.
Yeah. I think that's what you say about you write the code you want to see. So that's the thing, isn't it? If you have, say, when we were writing those CRUD methods, I think you asked me on Discord, how would you like your CRUD methods to look?
Yeah.
I wasn't kind of worried about what they look like. It was the concepts we're after. But if I've got a preferred way that I want them to look and laid out, and the coding standards that are going to apply and all that kind of stuff, then I just write one of those, and as we've done tonight, just slowly change it so that the templating takes over and writes it for me.
Yeah.
And I change my mind in 6 years' time. I don't like that format anymore. I just change it.
We change mine next week.
Yeah, next week even. Yeah.
No, I don't like this. We made a mistake. Let's change it. So I think it's so important that that's why I sometimes talk about this as you're a meta programmer.
Yes.
You're still in control as a programmer. You own the code that's being written and the one that is generating it. So you don't give that up. And I think sometimes the problem people have with code generation is that they think about the tool, they buy a tool that generates the code, and that's it. And if they don't like the code, then they're sad.
Yes.
But if we don't like this code, just change it.
I guess it's a bit like, so I'm doing some streams with a tool called, I did some streams with a tool called Juice, and I'll do some streams with a tool called RackAFX to generate C++ kind of frameworks for audio plugins. We're doing synthesizers, for example, with RackAFX, and it kind of generates an awful lot of code for you.
Yep.
But it uses Hungarian notation.
Yep.
And so I feel duty bound on my stream to use Hungarian notation because it kind of fits in with what the tool is generating, so we don't get a horrible clash in names. But
I'm going to tell you another story where I used T4, which I thought was pretty cool.
Right.
And that's, I built a graphics library with the intention to be like graphics for kids, kind of. I wanted it to be very simple to use. And then I wanted it to support Python. I wanted to support C++. I wanted to support C# and PowerShell.
Right.
So all these kind of different APIs that I want to support in different languages. And what I then defined was I defined a model for the API because I had everything in C#. And I then defined a model for the API, and then I generated the Python code, the API. I generated the C# code, the PowerShell code, the C++ code, and then I generated the code that packaged the input parameters from all this into a byte stream, which I sent to my C# code, so it worked anywhere, and then I unpacked it in C#. And all of that was generated all this packing, unpacking, and all this kind of, and also a kind of a command model. It doesn't really matter, but I had a lot of machinery that was just automatically generated. That was just it's so easy to mess that up if you write it by hand.
Absolutely, yeah.
And now I add a new parameter in the model, and I get it everywhere, consistent.
Yeah, it's the power of it, isn't it? Say it's write it once. It's not quite the Java write once, run everywhere, but it's that idea of you write it in one place with a simplified syntax, as we did in the .NET Core synthesizer project that we worked on, and you helped me out a huge amount on that with the WPF side, because I'm a newbie on WPF. But the way we could just write a simple line of text which described a parameter that we were going to bind, the label for it, and I think we had the any kind of data conversions that were going on when we were turning linear to decibels, for example. Just in a simple line, save the file, and there it was. The generated file had everything I needed in it. I didn't have to think about any of that side of it. So very, very helpful.
And after a while, you start trusting this thing.
Yeah, trusting. Yeah.
And it helps you in your development. You're like, yeah, I know this works.
Mm.
Yeah. So, sorry, I come on with another thing I used it for. So, talk about VPF again. In one of the projects where I also wrote the whole document for the application. I wrote in T4 model.
The documentation. That's brilliant.
No. Well, actually, but I defined the document model for my application, because my application was data-driven or document or view model.
I see, right, yeah.
You get it, right?
Yeah.
But I generate all that. And then I realized at some point, but I want to support undo and redo in my application. So I figured out how I wanted the code to look to support undo and redo in these properties in the document. And then I changed the template a little bit like we did. So I implemented everywhere. And then undo and redo was added in like 30 minutes to my quite complex application by generating the undo redo code. There's nothing hard about that code. It's just so boring.
Yeah. And I think that when you get repetitive, boring code that you're having to churn out, that's when you make mistakes. Because that's when we all do the copy paste, and then you leave. I mean, I've even found that in code recently. I was wandering through the service layer code at work for our microservices, and I suddenly came across a parameter which nobody's ever noticed. It was copying a column into a DTO object, and it was the wrong column.
Yep.
Nobody ever noticed it.
But extremely easy to make that mistake. Super
copy
easy.
Paste error. Yeah.
But of course, I want to mention, wrapping up, T4. We talk about T4 here, right?
Yeah.
This tool exists. Not T4 is Microsoft is Visual Studio. This kind of thing exists everywhere. You just have to find it. There's something called Marco template. I'm not a really big fan of Marco template because how it generates code sloppy. It's the indentation is bad.
Right. Yeah.
But it does the work. It works, right? Marco template. There's something called Mustache. There are different kind of tools out there that you can use in a non C# or Visual Studio environment, because
Mustache, is that JavaScript? I've heard of Mustache.
I think that's Python.
Python, is it? All right.
Yeah. So we talk about Visual Studio here and C#, but this is not Microsoft invention. This is anyone can use it, any project. And and Microsoft wasn't even the first, and this is not even the best implementation. I mean, but it works. So if you are on non-Microsoft platforms, there's definitely options there as well.
That's really good to know. So are we done then? Do you think?
Yeah, I think this is I had to get a chance to rant a little bit.
Yeah, well, give you your anecdote time and your rant time. That's always good.
Yeah. So, but I thought that it could be valuable to sort of share a little bit of.
Absolutely.
But it was very good, and I really think you got it. It's not, I wasn't worried. It's not so hard. It's not like we're talking pro functors, optics.
No, that's right. So I still get confused by all the functional side of stuff. So
yeah, this is
that's
much
more of a challenge. This isn't such much challenge, no.
This is PHP. No developer would admit that PHP is hard.
No, yeah, they wouldn't be a developer if they did. Thank you very much, Dragon Eye. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. So we'll be announcing some kind of shader stream in the near to mid future. We've still got to work out all the ins and outs how we actually produce that stream. But Mårten and I will collaborate on some more projects in the future, including web shaders. So do join us for that.
You can think about what kind of shaders you want to see. If you want to see 2D shaders, or we're just going to go ray tracing.
Yeah, we'll do both. We'll have a nice new ALF shader, I think, and then we'll go crazy and do some ray tracing. Be really good.
Yeah, it's so cool. You can do ray tracing in real time these days.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Mårten. That's been amazing. You have a good evening as well. And so the next stream, I'm not exactly sure when we're streaming next. So Wednesday I can't stream because I'm still at work at the time I normally stream. There's a possibility it might be tomorrow. That depends if my wife goes out tomorrow, in which case we'll be back building our oscillator classes for the synthesizer plugin in C++. If not, and then I'll try and do Thursday or Friday or maybe even Sunday again. But I will keep everyone informed via Twitter and Discord about when the next stream is going to be. So thanks very much, Mårten. It's been a pleasure as always. And let's go and find somebody to raid, shall we? I shall push all this up to GitHub after the stream, so it'll all be up on GitHub. You can go and see the code there. If you don't know anything about my GitHub, it's on the chat now. So that's where you need to go. There's a number of repositories or other projects in there. So there's the synthesizer project. There's the current synthesizer stuff. There's an Alexa skill we wrote from scratch. There's a Microsoft Bot Framework AI chatbot. There's a secure web API project. There's a whole bunch of stuff up there, and they're all kind of free for you to go and have a look at and do with what you will. Grab the code, use it in your own projects, whatever. If you want to look at the code and submit PRs, then that's also a thing you can do. So fork the repositories and write a PR for me. So thank you, Ancient Coder, for the thanks. That's very kind of you. Let's go and find a suitable raid target, shall we? So let's go over to Twitch. The last time I did a raid, I think it actually wasn't the raid target wasn't actually broadcasting. So sometimes we get a few weird things going on. So Gareth Hubble is definitely broadcasting at the moment. So we're going to go over to Gareth. I think he's probably doing some C++ or something along those lines. I'm not exactly sure, but I know he's doing some interesting looking stuff. So let's go and raid him. So do stay on the channel to join Gareth Hubble and his stream. And if you've got any emotes, spam chat with the emotes. mholloway24, thank you very much for your thanks. That's very kind of you. And we'll see you again. So it won't be Wednesday, so no stream on Wednesday. But it will be another day, perhaps tomorrow. Okay, so thanks very much, and we'll see you then. A good website to learn coding from. Drop into my Discord, Mahoney. Drop into my Discord, which is here. So go and join Discord and drop your question in there, and I'll be happy to try and help you in there. Okay, take care, and we're coming up to the raid.